and to be how God wanted me to be in this life. So whoever told you must be miserable to be a Muslim, they're lying. This is not true. Prophet Muhammad used to laugh and joke and play on the ground with the little kids, and with his wives. They'd run up and down joking and splash water on one another. I'm going to finish soon because I think we've said enough. Little story from Medina. Last year I went for Umrah, and in Medina, very, very beautiful. The people, very sweet. And in the great mosque in Medina, I was sitting there in the afternoon. We were waiting for Salat al-Asr. And this man came in with his 4 sons. Now he was from somewhere in the former Soviet Union. Something Istan, you know? If there's anyone from there, forgive me, okay? But it's something Stan. And he was dressed just, you know, kind of Afghan style or Turkmenistan. And he came very severe when he walked in. And behind him, his 4 sons, going from one this size, this size, this size, and this size. And they followed behind him. And they all went and they prayed. They all lined up next to their dad and they prayed. And when it was finished, they all lay down. And the father, very severe. But the little one, he was only about 7. So he couldn't really keep up this act of being severe too long. And I watched them, and I wish the television could have seen. Because the little boy, he started tickling his dad's toes in the mosque. And after a couple of minutes, the 5 of them, they were rolling around on the floor, laughing and tickling each other. And this is Islam. This is Islam fun. Islam is fun. It's full of fun. It's not heavy. Whoever told you that it's heavy missed the point. I think I've said enough. I'm going to finish. I'll finish with a story about Princess Diana, okay? And then finish. Today I went to Hyde Park. It was like a trip down memory lane because I walked past the very spot where, how many years it was? Was it 10 years she died? 10? Well, I walked past the very spot where I stood 10 years ago when the coffin came past in the road. I went for I loved Diana, I liked Diana, so I stood there. And the funeral came, and I remember the body coming past on the gun carriage. On top there were white lilies from the little boy to Mummy. It came past, and all the people were screaming, "We love you, Diana. You are our friend." Well, she wasn't their friend. She didn't know them from Adam. They didn't know her at all. But what had happened was, the television had told them what it wanted to say. It told them she's very beautiful. She's a beautiful woman. She's very glamorous. She mixes with film stars and TV people. And she helps poor children with landmines, their limbs blown off and all this sort of thing. And her life too had been touched by tragedy. Her marriage had broken down. So she was like this fairy tale princess that had come from nothing. Well, that's a lie. She'd come from great wealth to start with. But the TV presented her. It was like a fairy story. And she'd come and she married the Prince of Wales. And when she died, the people were heartbroken. And I remember watching it on TV and all the newscasters with black ties on. The BBC, black ties and purple curtains behind them reading the news. And throwing flowers and screaming, "We love you." I was a priest at the time. And it struck me at the time that what was happening was something very important. That all these millions of people who were crying for Diana, what they were mourning, it seemed to me, was not the death of the princess, but they were mourning the death in British society of goodness and of beauty and of honesty and compassion and integrity, and all those things that the television had told them she stood for. Mother Teresa died the next day. No one shed a tear. She was a good woman. But the television led these people to weep, and they wept for goodness, because in people's hearts, wherever they live, whether they live in Britain or New York or whatever country, their hearts have been made for Allah. Everyone's heart has been made for Allah. But the problem is most people don't know it. They don't know that because no one's told them. And so, like my heart was empty and was longing for something, people fill the emptiness in their hearts with shoes. They fill it with football. They fill it with drink. And all manner of other things. They fill the emptiness with things. But the things never satisfy them. You know how you've got a new pair of shoes or a new pair of trousers and you never even wear them. You get, oh, this is fantastic. You go home and it ends up in the wardrobe, never worn. All the shoes that are there, and you want more shoes. You want a bigger house, you want a bigger car, everything, more and more. And it doesn't answer your need. Islam answers the need. Final quotation, right at the end of the book. Okay. I end up talking about the little boy, the little banana boy. Okay? And during that week when she died, people asked me as a priest questions like, why does God allow young people to die? Why does he let people suffer? Why does he allow tsunamis to kill thousands, or little children to get cancer? Why does he allow all these things? And people were bewildered. They didn't understand. Our young boy knows the answer to all those questions about life's meaning. Islam has taught him. There's no distinction for him between religion and life. He is neither weird, nor an extremist, nor a fanatic. He's just a perfectly ordinary young man trying to earn enough money to feed himself and his family. Does praying make him a fanatic, he asks? Does trying to help others less fortunate than him make him weird? Does dreaming about going on a once-in-a-lifetime pilgrimage to Mecca make him an extremist? We often fear that which we don't understand. Islam is much misunderstood in today's world. If our only knowledge of Islam comes from distorted news headlines, we're sure to live forever in fear of what we don't really know. If we can begin to see Islam through the eyes of Muslims themselves, like our young shoe-shy boy, we might begin to understand. Final little section. Muslims remain bewildered that their religion is not only misunderstood, but vilified as a religion of fanatics. Our young boy, Ali or Hassan or Muhammad, knows that Islam is the religion of peace. Misunderstood by many who are not Muslim, he will carry on through the harsh realities of life, trying his best to be a good person. Several times a day he'll declare his belief in the oneness of Allah and that Muhammad, peace be upon him, is his messenger. He'll go quickly to pray when he hears Allahu Akbar from the mosque. He'll pay zakat if ever he has enough money to pay it. But he'll always think of those even less better off than he. He'll look forward all year to the coming of Ramadan, when he'll fast with all his heart and soul during daylight hours. And it will be his life's dream to go on pilgrimage to Mecca in response to Allah's call. His hope and his prayer will be that when his time on earth is over, he will look back on a life well lived. He has lived the secret according to the principles of Islam. Now he will hope to hear these words of the Quran as if Allah were addressing them to him alone. But are thou soul at peace? Return unto thy Lord, content in his good pleasure. Enter thou among my servants. Enter thou, my God. As-salamu alaykum.